I stood on the crowded playground of Spark City High School No. 2, my eyes fixed on the awakening platform. The air was thick with the nervous energy of every senior student gathered there. That platform was built from 10,000 spirit stones, designed to trigger the hidden potential within us. One by one, students stepped up, and the air flashed with different colors as their fates were decided. Principal Sun, a tall and sturdy man, announced the results with a booming voice. Ma Jiechi from Class 219 awakened a B-rank talent, Fire Ring. The crowd gave a polite ripple of applause. Ma Baohua from Class 220 got a C-rank talent called Iron Machine. People barely reacted to that one. But when Lan Aoshue from Class 222 stepped up, the entire school erupted. She awakened an S-rank talent, Ethereal Bronze. I watched from a corner of the crowd, my heart hammering against my ribs. I had been in this world for 6 months, and I knew today was the only day that mattered. This place, the Azure Realm, was nothing like the Earth I remembered. Outside the city walls, the wilderness was ruled by vicious demonic beasts. In the sky, astral demons circled the clouds, and deep underground, the Styx race waited in the shadows. Humans only survived here because of awakened warriors. Everyone gets their chance at 17. Over 90% of people awaken something, ranging from elemental powers to physical transformations. The grades went from SSS down to D. The higher your rank, the higher your ceiling for growth. For us, this ceremony was the ultimate fork in the road. My best friend, a round guy named Kai Su, was rubbing his hands together next to me. He had 2 little tiger teeth that poked out when he was nervous. He looked at me, his face pale, asking if he'd be living in luxury or working in the dirt after today. When the principal called his name, Kai Su started shaking so hard his legs wouldn't move. He begged me to help him calm down. I didn't hesitate. I swung my hand and slapped him right across his chubby cheek. The sound was sharp, and a red handprint bloomed on his face. He stared at me, stunned, asking what the hell I was doing. I told him I was just helping him relax. He admitted he wasn't nervous anymore, though he did look like he wanted to strangle me. I pushed him toward the stage. As soon as Kai Su stepped onto the spirit stones, his body began to transform. His fat melted away in seconds, replaced by thick, solid muscle. He looked like a different person, smaller but far more intimidating. A purple light flashed above him. Principal Sun announced that Kai Su had awakened a B+ rank talent, Dual Energy Bronze Bone. Kai Su started jumping for joy on the stage, shouting about how he was going to spend his future at high-end clubs. The principal, looking annoyed, ordered him to get down. Kai Su ran back to me, grinning from ear to ear. He credited my slap for his luck and tried to give me a massive bear hug. I stepped back, telling him to keep his cool now that he was a genius. He cleared his throat, trying to look serious, and then raised his hand. He said he wanted to return the favor and give me a lucky slap before my turn. Just then, the principal called my name. I didn't give him the chance. I turned and walked straight toward the platform. I stepped onto the stones, waiting for the surge of power. A faint, flickering white light appeared over my head. Principal Sun's voice was flat, showing no emotion at all. Li Suifeng, Class 222. Awaken Lightstream. Grade E. The words hit me like a physical blow. My face went white. In a world where talent decided your social class, an E rank was the absolute bottom. Even C and D ranks could get you into a decent college and a steady job. But E rank had no potential. It wasn't even worth mentioning. Out of all the students today, I was the only one to pull a grade that low. I walked off the stage in a complete daze. The rest of the ceremony was a blur. When I reached the school gates, Kai Su tried to comfort me, but I could see the pity in his eyes. I forced a fake smile, told him not to worry, and hurried away before he could say anything else. I needed to be alone. I ducked into a quiet, narrow alleyway and held up my hand. A tiny ball of light, no bigger than a soybean, flickered at the tip of my finger. It was dim and weak, looking like it would blow out if I breathed too hard. This was my talent. No attack power, no utility. It was less useful than a common firefly. I felt a surge of anger and flicked my hand, extinguishing the light. But the moment the light died, something changed. A line of text suddenly floated in the air before my eyes. It said, "Killed Firefly, talent value +1. I froze. As a transmigrator, I knew exactly what this was. My golden finger had finally arrived. A translucent status panel materialized in my vision. It listed my name, my realm as none, and my physical stats as a 1, the average for a normal human. At the bottom, it showed my talent, light stream, at level 1, with a plus sign next to it. I looked at the talent value I had just earned. My heart started to race. I wasn't just a loser with a trash talent. I had a way to level up. My dark, hopeless future was about to take a massive U-turn. I stared at the status panel floating in the air. There was a plus sign next to my talent, which meant I could actually upgrade it. I didn't hesitate. I focused my mind and thought, system, upgrade. A line of text flashed across my vision. Consumed talent value. Level 1 talent, light stream, upgraded to earth grade talent, light orb. Personal spirit, +2. I stood frozen in the alleyway. My talent didn't just go up a notch, it jumped straight to earth grade. My spirit power increased along with it. Was this for real? I checked the panel again to be sure. Name, Li Suifeng. Realm, none. Physique, 1. Spirit, 3. Talent, light orb, earth grade. Technique, none. Talent value, 0. I covered my mouth, trying to hold back a scream of pure joy. My spirit power was now at 3 points, 3 times that of a normal person. All of this changed because of a single click. I felt like I was finally ready to take off. I took a deep breath to calm my racing heart. I needed to figure out where that first point of talent value came from. The system said I killed a fluorescent ant. I looked down at my feet. There, crushed under my shoe, was a tiny brown ant about the size of a fingernail. It was covered in blood. I realized what happened. Humans weren't the only ones changed by the spiritual energy in this world. Animals mutated too. These fluorescent ants were common in Starfire City. They looked like normal ants but glowed in the dark. A realization hit me like a lightning bolt. If I killed these things, I got talent value. If I had enough value, I could upgrade my D rank talent to C rank, B rank, A rank, or even SSS rank. No one was going to stop me from a total ant massacre. I started searching the ground like a madman. Ants are social creatures. If you see one, there are thousands nearby. Sure enough, a few minutes later, I found a corner of the alley shimmering with tiny spots of light. It was an entire colony out foraging. Jackpot, I whispered. I started stomping. My feet hammered the ground in a rhythmic thud. Thud, thud, thud. System alerts began spamming my vision. Killed fluorescent ant, talent value +1. Killed fluorescent ant, talent value +1. I lost track of time. I didn't stop until the alley was pitch black and the shimmering lights were gone. I had wiped them all out. I opened my panel and saw a staggering 128 points of talent value. The plus sign was back. System, max it out. I shouted in my head. Text flashed again. Consumed 120 talent value. Earth grade talent, light orb, upgraded to B grade talent, light of dawn. Personal spirit +9. My stats updated instantly. My spirit was now 12. My total life force was climbing. I was grinning so hard my face hurt. I looked at the description for my new B grade talent. Light of dawn. Once activated, the user gains the power of light. Physical strength and speed are increased by 10 times. 10 times? That was basically a Super Saiyan mode. I had to test it. I took a deep breath and focused. Every pore in my body seemed to open up. Golden energy flowed out of me like flickering flames, illuminating the dark alley. I felt a surge of raw, indescribable power. There was a metal trash can lying on the ground nearby. I gave it a casual kick. Clang. The trash can flew through the air like a soccer ball and slammed into the wall. It didn't just dent. It crumpled into a twisted heap of scrap metal. I stared at my foot in shock. If I kicked a person like that, they'd probably snap in half. I tried sprinting. I moved so fast I almost tripped over my own momentum. I was easily shattering world records from my old life. This was the power of a B-grade talent. It was brutal. It was magnificent. But then, a wave of exhaustion hit me. My head felt heavy and my muscles went weak. I had used up my spirit power too quickly. I needed to get home and recharge. I jogged back home with a spring in my step. As soon as I walked through the door, my little sister, Li Jiayue, ran up to me. She looked like a little porcelain doll with her white dress and pigtails. "Brother, what talent did you awaken today?" she asked excitedly. I wiped the sweat from my forehead, but before I could answer, my mom, Wang Wan, walked out of the kitchen carrying a plate of food. Jiayue, leave your brother alone, she scolded gently. He's had a long day. She smiled at me. You're home late. You must be starving. Come eat. I sat down and started shoveling rice into my mouth. I decided to keep my secret for now. My current stats weren't legendary yet, and I wanted to stay low-key. I'd wait for the college entrance exam results. I wanted to surprise my mom with an admission letter from one of the top 8 academies. After dinner, I went to my room and pulled out my phone to research martial artists. I learned that power was determined by physique and spirit. Natural-type talents focused on spirit, while superhuman types focused on physique. Together, they made up your life force. According to the official guidelines, once your life force reached 30 points, you were considered a trainee martial artist. With my spirit at 12 and my physique at 1, I was at 13 points. I just needed to keep grinding. If I could get my talent to S rank, reaching 30 points would be easy. The martial arts exam was as good as one. The next morning, I headed to the gates of number 2 high school. My best friend, Kai Su, was standing at a stall, munching on a fresh pancake. I walked up and snatched the second pancake right out of his other hand. Thanks for the breakfast, Brother Kai, I said, taking a huge bite. Kai Su stared at me, eyes wide. Oldly, you're okay. Why wouldn't I be? I asked casually. He nodded, looking relieved. He probably thought I had some incredible mental recovery skills to get over my trash talent so fast. He had no idea. He held out his fist for a bump. All right, Oldly. Let's go see which classes we get sorted into. If we get split up, we won't be able to hang out every day, Kai Su said, his voice trailing off. But hey, brothers forever, right? I bumped my fist against his. Always. Hey, Brother Kai, do you know where the most mutated insects are on campus? Mutated insects. He looked at me like I had grown a second head. The small woods outside the physical training hall, obviously. I spent 5 minutes there once and came out covered in bites. Why are you asking? Just curious, I replied casually. We finished our breakfast and headed toward class 222. The classroom was buzzing with excitement, but as soon as I stepped through the door, the room went dead silent. I felt dozens of eyes on me. Some were mocking, some were full of pity, and others were just pure contempt. I ignored them all and took my seat. A moment later, a tall, beautiful girl with pale skin walked in. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Instead of the cold glares I received, the students looked at her with pure worship. This was Lan Aoshua. She wasn't just our class monitor. She was one of only 2 students in the entire school to awaken an S-rank talent. She walked over and sat down right next to me. To my surprise, she looked at me with a hint of gentleness. Talent doesn't decide everything, she said softly. Hard work matters more. There are people in history who started with nothing and became extraordinary. Don't give up. The students around us were baffled. Monitor, you're an S-rank genius. Why waste your breath on an E-rank loser? Even if you're seatmates, it's not worth it. I just smiled at her. Thanks for the encouragement. I'll keep working hard. 3 years ago, Lan Aoshua wasn't a famous genius. She was just a girl suffering from low blood sugar, looking helpless in the hallway. I was the one who noticed and gave her my breakfast bread. Since that day, she had always shown me a side of her that no one else saw. The homeroom teacher walked in, looking ecstatic. Students, it's time for the reshuffle. But first, I have incredible news. Lan Aoshua has been scouted by Tianhuan University because of her S-rank talent, the Heavenly Void Eye. She is the first student in Spark City to be admitted to one of the top 8 academies this year. The room exploded. Everyone was green with envy. The top 8 were the elite martial arts universities in the country. Most of the strongest warriors came from there. Getting in was nearly impossible, even for S ranks. For her to be admitted without even taking the exam was a massive achievement. Lan Aoshua didn't even look up. She clearly already knew. I watched her from the side, thinking to myself, the top 8 were known for being strict. They wouldn't skip the exam unless her talent was incredibly rare with massive potential. She was definitely going to soar. The teacher started calling out the new assignments. D ranks, go to martial arts class 4. C, B, and A ranks, report to classes 3, 2, and 1. Lan Aoshua, you are to go to the principal's office. He will personally train you until graduation. As the students filtered out to the training hall, I was left sitting alone in the empty classroom. Teacher, where do I go? I asked. He walked over and sighed. Li Suifeng, you stay here. New classmates will join you soon. I knew what that meant. The new classmates would be other E-ranks or people with no talent at all. We were the trash pile. We were only allowed to take academic classes. No training hall, no martial arts exam. Teacher, can I apply for a retest? I asked seriously. He shook his head. You were judged E-rank yesterday. That's final. You're in the general class now. Look, ordinary people are part of the world too. You can still have a good life. He patted my shoulder and left. Soon, a group of miserable-looking students filled the room. A history teacher arrived, but nobody listened. Some played on their phones, some slept, and others just walked out of the room to vent their frustration. I decided to leave too. The school didn't care about the general class. We were basically abandoned, so skipping was easy. But I wasn't going to slack off. I headed straight for the woods near the training hall. The place was crawling with life. I saw golden wasps that looked like they were made of solid gold, palm-sized power beetles with hooked legs, and spined slime worms that left trails of poison. Normally, I'd run the other way. Today, my eyes were glowing. I wondered how many points these things were worth. I lunged into the brush. Kill confirmed, golden wasp. Talent value +1. Kill confirmed, power beetle. Talent value +3. Kill confirmed, slime worm. Talent value +2. These creatures weren't strong enough to be a threat, so I didn't even need to use my Dawnlight talent. I moved through the woods like a man possessed, crushing every bug I saw. I was so focused on the grind that I didn't even hear the school bell ring. As the elite students walked out of the training hall, they stopped and stared at the woods in confusion. What is he doing? Someone whispered. Isn't that the E-rank loser from class 222? Li Suifeng. They watched as the loser they despised went on a rampage against the insects, oblivious to the fact that I was leveling up faster than any of them could imagine. The elite students laughed as they walked by. To them, I was just a joke. They saw an E-rank loser like Li Suifeng having a mental breakdown, taking out his frustration on innocent bugs. They whispered that I'd gone crazy because of my pathetic awakening. They stayed far away, afraid my madness might be contagious. I didn't care what they thought. I waited until the last of them vanished before I let out a breath. I was covered in dirt, my hair was a mess, and my clothes were ruined, but I didn't care. I looked at my interface and felt a surge of pure ecstasy. My talent value had broken 1,000. I was rich. A whole morning of slaughtering insects had paid off. I noticed a small plus sign glowing next to my Dawnlight talent. It was time. I didn't hesitate. System upgrade. I roared in my mind. The text flickered before my eyes. Consuming 1,000 talent value. B-rank talent, Dawnlight, has evolved into A-rank talent, Fierce Light. My mind felt sharper as my spirit stat jumped to 17. I checked the details of my new power. Fierce Light was an A-rank light-type talent. Once activated, my strength and speed would increase by 20 times. 20 times. That was double the power of my previous rank. I felt like a god, but there was a catch. I looked at my talent value and sighed. I was back down to 1 point. The pressure of being poor hit me instantly, followed closely by the growling of my stomach. A morning of manual labor had left me hollow and exhausted. I needed fuel. I headed out of the school gates, checking my phone as I walked. My mom, Wang Wen, had sent 4 or 5 messages asking when I'd be home for lunch. It was already nearly 1 p.m., too late to head back. I messaged her saying I'd grab something near school. She replied instantly with a digital red envelope, worried I wouldn't eat enough. The warmth in my chest gave me a second wind. I stepped into a noodle shop and ordered a massive bowl of beef noodles with 3 extra eggs. I inhaled the food like a starving animal. There was no time for a nap. I headed straight back to the woods. By 2 p.m., the students returning to the training hall saw me again. The sneers returned. By 5 p.m., when school let out, their jaws dropped. They couldn't believe I was still there. Some stayed to watch, calling me the insect exterminator, but I ignored them. I was in the zone. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the spectators got bored and left. I was alone in the dark. It became too hard to spot the bugs in the tall grass, so I finally called it a day. I stretched my aching back, feeling a sense of accomplishment. My talent value was back up to 260. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to stop me from panicking. As I walked past the training hall, I saw a janitor cleaning the steps. A thought struck me. I waited for her to move on, then approached the entrance. The electronic gate was closed, but there was a gap at the top. I grabbed the bars, hauled myself up, and vaulted inside. The hall was dim and quiet. I crept toward a corner where a heavy machine stood, the strength tester. Usually, only the superhuman-type students used this to track their physical growth. As a light type, I was supposed to focus on spirit, but I had to know. I looked around to make sure I was truly alone. Fierce light, activate. Brilliant golden light erupted from my body. My hair drifted upward as if caught in an invisible current. I felt a terrifying amount of power coiling in my muscles. I pulled back and threw a punch. Boom. My fist, wrapped in golden light, slammed into the padded target. The impact left a deep, smoking crater in the center. The machine let out a sharp chime, and the digital display flashed a number, 1,001 kilograms. 1 ton of force. From a single punch. I stared at my hands, stunned. Was I really a natural type awakener? Usually, people like me were glass cannons, high magic power, weak bodies. Even a world-class heavyweight boxer like Mike Tyson only hit with about 400 kilograms of force at his peak. I had just crushed that record by 600 kilograms. If I hit a normal person with this, they wouldn't just be hurt, they'd be erased. And this was with my base physical stats being trash. If I leveled up my body, I could eventually punch with the force of hundreds of tons. I'd be a walking anti-aircraft carrier. Suddenly, I heard a rhythmic click-clack of shoes outside. My enhanced hearing picked up the sound from a distance. Someone was coming. I didn't wait around to be caught. I sprinted for the gate, vaulted over, and vanished into the night. A minute later, the gate buzzed open. A middle-aged man in a gray suit and gold-rimmed glasses walked toward his office. He paused, looking confused, clutching his briefcase. He muttered to himself about his fading memory, convinced he'd left the bag inside. As he turned to leave, he froze. His eyes locked onto the glowing screen of the strength tester. "Am I seeing things?" he whispered. The seniors had only awakened their talents yesterday. They hadn't even started their hellish training yet. The strongest superhuman student in the school shouldn't be hitting for more than 300 or 500 kilograms. But the screen was screaming a flat 1,000. The man walked over, his heart racing. He touched the sandbag. It was still warm. This machine never malfunctioned. That meant someone in this school was hiding the strength of a monster. Someone had actually hit for a full ton. Who was it? The man looked around frantically, but the gym was empty. He hurried out to the steps and found the cleaning lady. "Hey," he asked, breathless. "Did you see anyone go into the gym just now?" She looked up, a bit dazed. "I think it was a student. I didn't see which class, though." The man wasn't disappointed. If they could get into the gym, they had to be a student at number 2 high school. He could find them tomorrow. To have 1,000 kilograms of force only one day after awakening was monstrous. This was a seed-level genius. They needed to be prioritized and groomed immediately. Time flowed like water, and 3 days vanished in a flash. I showed up at school every day on time, but I never set foot in a classroom. I spent my entire day in the small grove on campus, grinding for points. My talent value was skyrocketing, hitting 690 points before I even realized it. I honestly thought Principal Sun should give me a job as a groundskeeper. Everywhere I went, the insect population was being systematically slaughtered. It was a bloodbath. That afternoon, as school let out, a group of students lingered near the edge of the woods. They were whispering and mocking me, calling me the insect-killing demon. "School's over. Go home already," a voice boomed. "Unless you're looking for a beating." The students looked up. A chubby young man was walking toward them, holding a lunchbox and looking very annoyed. It was old Kai, my best friend. He wasn't someone to mess with. Not only had he awakened dual talents, but his family background was deep. The bullies didn't waste a second and scrambled away. Old Kai watched them leave before stepping into the trees. A few mosquitoes buzzed near his ears, making him grimace, but his face softened when he saw me. "Oldly, time to eat," he said. My bug-killing spree had become school legend. Old Kai couldn't escape hearing about it. Even though he thought I'd lost my mind, he still looked out for me, bringing me dinner whenever he could. I didn't care about the dirt on my clothes. I grabbed the box and started shoveling food into my mouth. Thanks, brother. Old Kai swatted at a mosquito. Old Lee, you're killing bugs like a maniac, but why do you ignore the mosquitoes? Because normal flies and mosquitoes haven't mutated, I thought. They don't give me talent points. Out loud, I just said, mosquitoes are too small. Not enough meat. Old Kai looked like he wanted to gag. He changed the subject. By the way, were you near the gym 3 days ago after school? Why do you ask? I looked at him, curious. Director Zhang, the guy in charge of the gym, said a student went in that day and left a 1,000-kilogram record on the strength tester. He's looking for them. Do you know how insane that is? Half our seniors are superhuman types now, but only a handful can hit 500. Even I, with my talent, can only hit 320. 1,000 is a dream. I looked at him, my expression a bit strange. Old Kai, if I told you that was me, would you believe it? He burst out laughing and threw an arm around my shoulder. Old Lee, I never knew you had such a sense of humor. I sighed. He didn't believe me. Nothing I could do about that. I wondered if Director Zhang was looking for me because I broke in, or because he realized my potential. It's late, Old Kai said, patting my arm. Let's head out. We walked to the school gate together. As we were about to split up, Old Kai got serious. Old Lee, the college entrance exams are less than a month away. A normal university isn't a bad life, you know? He was trying to be gentle, thinking I'd given up on my future to kill bugs. I just smiled. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. I won't ruin my future. He looked relieved and headed off. I turned and walked in the opposite direction. About a kilometer from home, I stopped in front of a building with a sign that read, Xingxiang Dojo. In a world where your awakening determined your life, parents were desperate. Dozens of dojos had popped up across Xingho City for after-school training. This place was one of the top 10 in the city. I walked inside. A girl in a short skirt greeted me with a professional smile. How can I help you, classmate? I want to join the dojo, I said. The grove at school was almost empty now. I had been too efficient. If I wanted to keep gaining points, I needed a new source of mutated creatures. The dojo was my best bet. Are you looking to be a student for the exams? Please wait in the hall. A martial arts master will be with you shortly for an assessment. She led me to an inner training hall. There were already about 100 high schoolers there, all looking nervous. Suddenly, a commotion broke out at the back. Tiger is here. Get out of the way. The crowd parted instantly. A massive teenager, nearly 2 meters tall and built like a tank, marched through. Behind him was a scrawny kid acting like a herald. That was Yin Hao, the lackey, and his master, Tang Hu. I heard the whispers. Tang Hu was a transfer from number 3 high school. He had awakened an A-rank talent, Earth Element Condensation. The dojo had paid a fortune to recruit him to represent them in the upcoming exams. In these dojos, there were regular students and representative students. The representatives were the geniuses, the ones expected to hit the top 8 universities. If they succeeded, the dojo's fame would skyrocket. Tang Hu walked to a corner of the hall and stripped off his jacket, revealing slabs of muscle. A few girls gasped. He ignored them, his body suddenly glowing with a brownish, earthy light. The energy solidified into a literal suit of armor around his massive frame. A-rank talent. Earth Element Condensation, someone whispered. Huh, Tang Hu roared. He lunged forward and threw a punch. The impact sounded like a cannon blast. The heavy training dummy was sent flying, crashing near the crowd and shaking the entire floor. The other students stood there, stunned. I stood in the corner, nodding to myself. A-rank was no joke. The moment he punched, that earth energy had amplified his force significantly. This was going to be interesting. That earth armor didn't just cover Tang Hu's body for defense, it gave him an explosive burst of power. The training dummy he sent flying weighed hundreds of kilograms. To punch it like that took terrifying strength. I watched him, but I didn't feel discouraged like the other students. My own talent, Berserk Light, wasn't necessarily weaker than his. I just needed the right stage to prove it. Suddenly, a man with a powerful build and bulging temples appeared. This was Zhang Daong, the owner of the Xingxiang Dojo. He didn't waste any time with pleasantries. We're short on space, he announced, his voice booming. Anyone with a talent below C rank, please leave now. Just like that, the crowd thinned out. Only 26 of us remained. Zhang Daong looked us over and added another condition. To join the dojo, we had to pay a tuition fee of 1,000 yuan. Students began lining up to pay his assistant. When the line ended, the assistant noticed me still standing there. "Hey kid, where's your tuition?" he asked, frowning. Everyone turned to look at me. I stayed calm. "I didn't bring any money," I said. The assistant's face darkened. "No money? Then why are you here?" I ignored him and looked directly at Zhang Daong. "Director Zhang, I want to represent your dojo in the upcoming college entrance exams." The assistant laughed out loud. "Are you joking? In our country, the martial exams weren't just for public schools. Private dojos could recommend students too. But because dojos lack the resources of public schools, they usually had to pay a fortune to poach geniuses. That's how they got Tang Hu. For someone to walk in off the street and offer themselves as a representative was unheard of. Usually, people like that weren't geniuses, they were losers looking for a handout. "Get out of here before you waste more of our time," the assistant said, waving me away. But Zhang Daong held up a hand to stop him. He looked at me with a serious expression. "It's not impossible, but you have to show me your talent first." I didn't say a word. I walked over to the heavy dummy Tang, who had just blasted across the room. Under the watchful eyes of the entire hall, I raised my arm. In an instant, a brilliant golden glow enveloped my fist. Zhang Daong's eyes widened. His skepticism vanished, replaced by pure anticipation. I punched. The impact was deafening. The massive dummy didn't just fly. It soared 20 meters through the air like a broken kite. When it hit the floor, it didn't bounce back up. The upper body of the dummy had literally shredded under the force of my strike. The room went dead silent. The assistant stood there with his mouth hanging open. Even Tang Hu, who had been training in the distance, stopped what he was doing. For the first time, he looked at me with a heavy, focused gaze. Zhang Daong was the first to move. He rushed toward me, his face flushed with excitement. "What's your name?" he gasped. "Li Yuan," I replied, deactivating my berserk light. "And that talent, what was it?" He was breathing fast now. He couldn't recognize it immediately, but he knew power when he saw it. This was an A-rank talent, just like Tang Hu's. A-rank light element. "Berserk light," I said. The room erupted into whispers. I could feel the waves of envy and jealousy washing over me. In any high school, A-rank talents were the 1%, the true geniuses chosen by fate. Studently, Zhang Daong said, trying to contain his joy. "Are you truly interested in being our representative?" "I wouldn't be here if I wasn't," I told him. "Good. Excellent." He was beaming. Finding one genius like Tang, who was a miracle, but two? His dojo was going to be famous after this exam. "Please, come into my office so we can talk details." As we walked, the assistant who had tried to kick me out followed us with a groveling smile. "Mr. Li, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. Please don't take it personally." I just shook my head. I didn't care about him. Once we were inside the office, Zhang Daong sat me down. "I'm a straight shooter," he said. "I don't like haggling. My assistant usually handles the contracts, but since he offended you, I'll handle this myself." He paused, looking me in the eye. 20,000 yuan up front. If you get into a first-rate university, I'll give you another 20,000. If you make it into one of the top 8 elite academies, I'll give you a bonus of 200,000. What do you think? My heart skipped a beat. 20,000 just for signing? This was easier than I thought. "Director, we have a deal," I said, reaching out my hand. He laughed and shook it firmly. He quickly drafted a contract. It was incredibly one-sided in my favor. I had no risks. If I failed the exam, I didn't owe them anything. But if I succeeded, the dojo's reputation would skyrocket. He was betting big on my talent. After I signed, he handed me a special identification card with the dojo's name engraved on it. This was my ticket into the martial exams. "One more thing," Zhang Daong said with a smile. "Before the exams, you'll need to officially withdraw from your high school. You can't represent 2 places at once." "I understand," I nodded. It didn't matter to me. I was in the liberal arts track at number 2 high school anyway, which meant I wasn't even eligible for the martial exams there. Switching to the dojo was the only way to get what I wanted. I was finally in the game. This move was my last resort, a desperate gamble to change my fate. "Li Yuan, Have you practiced any physical combat techniques at school? Zhang Daong asked, looking curious. I haven't had the chance to learn any yet, I lied smoothly. The truth was simpler and more painful. I wasn't qualified for the awakening class, so the school never bothered teaching me. But Zhang Daong didn't need to know that. That's fine, he said with a reassuring smile. We still have over 20 days. That's plenty of time for you to master the basics. He handed me a tablet. The screen displayed various book covers, each one a different combat technique. I saw names like 8 Desolations Leaf Falling Kick, Spirit Stream Rain Finger, and Spirit Snake 9 Steps. Some were common techniques taught in public schools, but others were exclusive, high-level manuals belonging to the Xinxiang Dojo. Technology in this world was advanced. Even ancient combat secrets were now distributed as ebooks. I didn't rush to choose. I needed something that complemented my specific power. Director, my frenzied light. Talent gives me a temporary boost in both strength and agility. Which technique do you think fits best? Zhang Daong looked at me with a hint of envy. He was a dojo master, but his own superhuman talent couldn't compare to the raw potential of my frenzied light. He had reached his position through sheer grit and years of hard labor. My starting point was already miles ahead of his. Given your talent, a fist-and-foot style is your best bet, he advised. I nodded. With the college exams looming, I didn't have time for anything fancy. I needed something intuitive. Since the dawn of time, punching and kicking have been human instinct. I tapped the screen on a manual called Taizu Long Fist. The tablet immediately filled with diagrams and text. Let's add each other on the messaging app, Zhang Daong said. I'll send the file to you. It's encrypted, so you can only study it yourself. You can't share it with anyone else. Understand. I understand, I replied. It made sense. This was proprietary stuff. Once the file transferred, he asked for my bank details. Within seconds, a notification popped up. 20,000 yuan had been deposited into my account. My heart thundered against my ribs. That was a small fortune, but I kept my face like stone. I sat there, pretending to be deeply absorbed in the manual. I like your focus, Zhang Daong noted, looking pleased. If you need it, I can give you a private training room. It's better than practicing at home. I didn't even look up. I was actually reading. After about 30 minutes, I finished the last page, and my vision blurred as my system panel flickered into existence. Name, Li Yuan. Level, 5. Constitution, 1. Spirit, 17. Talent, Frenzied Light, a rank. Technique, Taizu Long Fist, uninitiated. Talent points, 690. There it was. A small plus sign sat right next to the technique name. My pulse quickened. System, level up Taizu Long Fist, I commanded mentally. A message flashed, consuming 1 talent point. Taizu Long Fist reached entry level. Constitution +1. I felt a warm current flow through my limbs. Entry level? Just like that? The manual said it took a normal person a week to reach this stage, and even a genius needed 3 days. I had done it in a second. System, max it out, I thought, feeling greedy. Consuming 100 talent points. Taizu Long Fist reached proficient. Constitution +5. Suddenly, a surge of raw power erupted inside me. It concentrated in my arms. Under my sleeves, my muscles visibly thickened, turning dense and corded. My stats updated instantly. My constitution had jumped to 7. This was the key. Improving my talent increased my spirit, but improving my techniques increased my constitution. If I kept this up, I'd have no weaknesses. I'd be a god of both mind and body. But I realized the limits of this specific technique. Taizu Long Fist was a basic, mortal-grade skill meant for students to build a foundation. It topped out at the proficient level. True martial arts were ranked from mortal to spirit, earth, and heaven grades, with levels ranging all the way to great success and intent. Director Zhang, can I learn another one? I asked, my eyes bright with hunger. No, Zhang Daong said firmly. Martial arts aren't a game. You haven't even started on the first one. Learning a second now would only distract you. Focus on reaching the entry level for the long fist first. I wanted to show him. I wanted to throw a punch right there and prove I was already a master. But I caught myself. If I went from 0 to master in 30 minutes, the government would probably kidnap me for experimentation. I had to play it cool. I understand. I'll head home for dinner then. I said, making my exit. As I walked away, I felt Zhang Diyong's suspicious gaze on my back. He muttered something about me looking taller and stronger, but he dismissed it as a trick of the light. That night, in the privacy of my bedroom, I stripped down to my boxers. I began to practice. The Taizu long fist was all about wide, sweeping movements and explosive power. With the proficient memories burned into my brain, my form was flawless. I threw a heavy punch into the empty air. The sheer force of the wind it generated whistled through the room. 3 meters away, the desk lamp wobbled and crashed to the floor. "Yuan? Is everything okay in there?" My mom called out from the hallway. "I'm fine. Just knocked over a lamp by accident," I yelled back, embarrassed. I picked up the lamp and looked out the window. Between my A-rank talent and my mastered combat technique, I finally felt like I could hold my own. It was time. Tomorrow morning, I was heading outside the city walls to find some real monsters. I finished the breakfast my mom prepared and grabbed my camouflage backpack. I headed out the door, but I didn't walk toward number 2 high school like I usually did. Instead, I turned and walked in the opposite direction. As I reached the busy downtown area, I stepped into a massive department store called Tianwu Pavilion. It was one of the 6 retail giants in the Dragon Kingdom. They were famous for selling every resource a martial artist could ever need, and they had branches in every major city. The moment I entered, a female shop assistant approached me with a professional smile. She asked what I was looking for. I pulled out my phone and read from a list I had screenshotted earlier. "I need 5 portions each of nutrition potions and energy pills," I said. "Also, give me 2 beast-repellent incense sticks and 3 portions each of compressed biscuits and canned food." The assistant looked surprised. I was young, and buying this much gear usually meant one thing. She realized I was planning to head out of the city. Her smile widened, and she became even more respectful. She asked me to wait in the lounge area while she gathered the items. 5 minutes later, she returned with a military green suitcase. She laid it out and explained that everything was inside. The total came to 18,000 yuan. The tactical suitcase was included as a free gift. I took the price list and checked it against the research I'd done online. Everything matched. I scanned the QR code on the list and authorized the payment. Just like that, 18,000 yuan vanished from my account. I felt a sudden hollowness in my chest. That money could have covered my family's living expenses for at least 6 months. Now, I had spent it all in one go. The path to becoming a martial artist was incredibly expensive. I stuffed the suitcase into my backpack and left the building under the assistant's beaming gaze. I started running toward the west side of Xingho City. Half an hour later, I reached the west gate. It was mid-morning and the area was packed with people. Most of them were physically imposing martial artists. I blended into the crowd and waited in line. When it was finally my turn, a guard reached out and blocked my path. "Show your exit permit," he commanded. Outside the city walls lay the wilderness. It was a wasteland crawling with demonic beasts and hidden dangers. To prevent the weak from throwing away their lives, and to stop spies from the demonic factions from infiltrating human cities, the government had strict laws. No one, from high-ranking officials to common citizens, could enter or leave without the proper documentation. I reached into my bag to pull out my credentials,